Hello, and welcome back to the Z Standingready channel. In our last video, we looked at the early astronomers who constructed Stonehenge. Now, we are going to skip ahead a few thousand years to examine the life and contributions of Hans Lippershey, the person who invented the first telescope, and his contributions to science. Lippershey's fascination with astronomy began in his youth when he observed the night sky. In addition to my conversation chronicling Hans Lippershey's life and accomplishments, we will be showing artists' renditions of what the day-to-day life looked like in the 16th and 17th centuries. So let's get right into it. Hans Lippershey was a German-born spectacle eyeglass maker who lived in the Netherlands during the late 16th and early 17th centuries. He is known for his invention of the refracting telescope, which revolutionized astronomy and allowed for new discoveries about the universe. Lippershey's early career as a spectacle maker provided him with the necessary knowledge and skills to experiment with the lenses and create this groundbreaking device. There have been many disputes over who truly invented the telescope, but Lippershey's contribution to the field of optics and astronomy has secured his place as a leading figure in history as a pioneering figure. Hans Lippershey was born in Wesel, Germany in 1570 and was a son of a spectacle maker. He grew up working in his father's workshop, learning the trade of lens making, and became an apprentice at the age of 15. After completing his apprenticeship, he traveled to the Middelburg in the Dutch Republic, where he established his own workshop and became a citizen. In Middelburg, Lippershey continued his work as a lens maker and also made a name for himself as a maker of scientific instruments. For example, he became known for his skill and expertise in producing lenses for microscopes. Lippershey was a member of the Guild of St. Luke, which was a guild of painters, sculptors, and craftsmen in the city. In 1608, Lippershey applied for a patent for the invention he called a kijker, which means looker or viewer in Dutch. This device was a telescope, which he had developed by combining lenses in a new way. The patent was granted, and Lippershey began producing and selling his new invention. There is some controversy surrounding the invention of the telescope, however, and Hans Lippershey's role in it. While Lippershey is often credited with the invention of the telescope, it is possible that others had developed similar devices around the same time. Lippershey was a Dutch optician who believed to have developed the first telescope in 1608. However, there are reports that another Dutchman, Jacob Andreasen, may have also developed a telescope around the same time. Additionally, some historians believe that the Italian astronomer Galileo Galilei, who is often credited with popularizing the telescope, may have had access to similar devices before Lippershey and Andreasen. Despite the controversy surrounding the origins of the telescope, it is clear that Lippershey's design was a significant breakthrough in the history of astronomy. The invention of the telescope revolutionized astronomy and helped to launch the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution was a period of major scientific achievements that occurred in Europe from the 16th to the 18th centuries. During this time, scholars and thinkers began to challenge traditional beliefs and methods of understanding the natural world, and instead relied on observation, experimentation, and empirical evidence to explain the workings of the universe. The scientific revolution led to significant advances in fields such as astronomy, physics, biology, and chemistry. Famous scientists and philosophers of the time, such as Galileo Galilei, Isaac Newton, and Francis Bacon, made groundbreaking discoveries and developed new scientific methods that would later become the foundation for modern science. The scientific method allowed scientists to make more accurate and reliable predictions about the natural world and paved the way for many of the theological and medical advancements we enjoy today. The 16th and 17th centuries marked a significant turning point in the history of Western civilization, known as the Enlightenment period. During this time, scientific discoveries and religious beliefs were often in conflict, as people sought to reconcile the traditional teachings of the Church with the new discoveries made by scientists. As was mentioned earlier, the scientific method emerged during the 16th and 17th centuries as a way of testing and verifying knowledge. This approach emphasized the importance of observation and experimentation in developing scientific theories. Scientists of this period, such as Galileo Galilei and Isaac Newton, used this scientific method to make discoveries in the fields such as astronomy, physics, and mathematics. They believed that knowledge should be based on evidence rather than tradition and authority, and that theories should be tested rigorously to ensure their accuracy. Religious beliefs, on the other hand, were based on faith and tradition. The Church was the primary authority on matters of religion, and its teachings were accepted as truth by most people. The Church taught that God was the creator of the universe and that the Bible was the source of all knowledge. This meant that scientific discoveries that contradicted the Bible were often seen as heretical and were opposed by the Church. The conflict between science and religion during this period can be seen in the case of Galileo Galilei. Galileo was a scientist who made significant discoveries in the field of astronomy. He was also a devout Catholic who believed that his discoveries were consistent with the teachings of the Church. However, when he published his ideas, he was accused of heresy and was placed under house arrest by the Church for the rest of his life. We will talk about Galileo in a future video. The scientific method played a crucial role and helped to end the Dark Ages. During this period, knowledge was often based on superstition and tradition rather than observation and experimentation. The scientific method provided a way of testing and verifying knowledge, which led to the development of new ideas and technologies. This in turn led to the growth of commerce, industry, and the arts, which helped to transform European society. Lippershey's telescope was quickly replicated and improved upon by other scientists. While Lippershey did not make significant contributions to astronomy beyond his deep interest in the night sky, the invention of the telescope, his work paved the way for future discoveries in that field. So how did Hans make his lenses? Hans Lippershey made his glass lenses in the 16th century in almost the same way they are made today. The lens grinding process involved taking a piece of glass and grinding it against a surface such as metal or stone plate using abrasive materials such as sand or emery. The glass is held in place by a metal or wooden frame, and the grinding is done by hand using a series of increasingly fine abrasives until the desired curvature is achieved. In making his telescope, Lippershey used two convex lenses, one with a short focal length for the objective lens and the other with a longer focal length for the eyepiece. These lenses were made by grinding spherical pieces of glass to the desired shape and then polishing them to remove any imperfections. While the exact details of Lippershey's process are not known, it is likely that he relied on a combination of trial and error and knowledge of the properties of glass and optics to create his lenses. Despite the relatively crude tools and materials available to him, Lippershey's invention revolutionized astronomy and paved the way for many scientific advancements in the centuries to come. Lippershey's interest in astronomy and his desire to see the stars more clearly led him to experiment with lenses in the early 17th century. He built his first telescope in 1608, which he called a looker. The looker was made of a convex and a concave lens, mounted in a tube, which allowed for the magnification of objects. Lippershey's telescope had a magnification of around 3x, which was a significant improvement over previous telescopes. Lippershey's early observations with the telescope led him to collaborate with other astronomers, such as Galileo Galilei, Johannes Kepler, and others. These collaborations led to the advancements in the field of astronomy, as the telescope allowed for more detailed observations of celestial bodies. Lippershey's telescope helped Galileo discover the moons of Jupiter, which was a significant breakthrough in the field of astronomy. Lippershey's contributions to the development of astronomy were significant. His invention of the telescope allowed for more detailed observations of the celestial bodies, which led to a better understanding of the universe. His collaboration with other astronomers helped to advance the field of astronomy and led to the discoveries that changed our understanding of the universe. Lippershey's invention of the telescope also had practical applications. The telescope was used in the military for surveillance and was also used by sailors for navigation. The telescope was a revolutionary invention that changed the way we see the world and the universe. So, in conclusion, Hans Lippershey is one of the most important figures in the history of astronomy and technology. Through his ingenuity and skill, he created the first practical telescope, which revolutionized our understanding of the way the universe is viewed and paved the way for centuries of scientific discoveries. Despite his modest beginnings as a spectacle maker in the Dutch town of Middelburg, Lippershey's impact on the world cannot be overstated. His legacy lives on in the countless telescopes and other optical instruments that have been built since his time, each one a testament to his pioneering spirit and his dedication to advancing human knowledge. Without Lippershey's invention, it is hard to imagine how astronomy and other scientific disciplines would have developed over the centuries, and for that reason he will always be remembered as one of the greatest telescope makers of all time. Thank you.